welcome to All Steelers Talk, your home for everything Pittsburgh Steelers, presented by allsteelers.com. What is up, Steelers Nation? Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. I'm Noah Strackbine, joined every Tuesday and Thursday by my main man, Donnie Droon. Find us on youtube.com/All Steelers Talk or anywhere you get your podcasts. And today we are going through the training camp battles because for the first time in what feels like 15,000 years, no exaggeration, football is right around the corner, and I mean that literally. We are less than a week away from training camp. This is the second last podcast before training camp. Well, I'll do one tomorrow with Derek, but then we're there. We're ready to roll. So, Donnie, it's a beautiful day in the Burgh. It's a beautiful day in the Burgh. How you feeling, my friend?
Feeling great. It's a little early. We're a few hours behind the normal schedule. Still trying to get the crush out of my eye and get my day going. But, I mean, and anytime you wake up and talk Steelers football, bro, especially on a Thursday, like the Friday before Friday, perfect way to start a Thursday.
Beautiful. Let me ask, did you eat some hot dogs yesterday for National Hot Dog Day?
Dude, I did not.
You didn't even know.
No.
Oh,
dude, I had no clue.
Should have known. I locked me and the fiance out of the house at about 8:30 at night because we went to go get milkshakes before the hot dogs, obviously, and locked us out of the house. Had to drive to her parents' house to get a key. Came back. It was like 9:30 at night. Still, I was out there cooking dogs on the grill at like 10 p.m. Just waving at the neighbors. Yeah, it's just like I got to eat a hot dog. It's National Hot Dog Day.
Are you capable of eating dessert before like an entree?
Dude, I could eat a milkshake. I could drink a milkshake at 4 in the morning, 7 in the morning. You could hand me a milkshake. If like you put a milkshake next to my bed, next to a glass of water, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I was thirsty, I'm drinking the milkshake. 10 out of 10 times. I have a serious milkshake addiction.
I love like ice cream and sweets. It's much the next guy. I mean, look at me. But like I always feel like after I eat something like legit food, it just tastes a lot better like coming after that. Like I always feel like something sweet needs to be had to kind of like put the cherry on top of whatever I just ate.
I agree with that. Like if someone said, yo, there's dessert and there's a meal, you're going to get them both. I'll wait, because I'm a civilized human. But I am the person that, like, we live down the street from a milkshake factory, and we've been invited to dinner at, like, multiple neighbors' houses. And my next door neighbor, actually, we went to dinner over there. They cooked a steak. Shout out them. And before dinner, I made a walk down to the milkshake factory, came back, ate a whole steak dinner with, like, 3 glasses of wine after a milkshake because I do, dude. We had to limit how much I'm going down to get milkshakes, actually. That's how close we are. And the first 2 weeks we were there, in a matter of 2 weeks, I think I drank like 11 milkshakes. And I was like, dude, it was bad. Milkshake Mondays. Now it's Milkshake Mondays. I've limited myself to one milkshake. Yeah. I'm trying not to be fat anymore. So, like, I've cut that down to sometimes 0 milkshakes a week. They're rough weeks, but, sometimes you got to be strong. All right.
Dude, I can't imagine all the boys in your yard right now. That's crazy.
That's an Instagram caption. That's an Instagram caption. So shout out Aiden in the chat here. What's Kenny Pickett jersey for the 18th birthday.
Bro, happy birthday,
my man.
Bro.
Yeah. Happy birthday. For real. That's a great birthday present. Let's talk, and that's a perfect transition. Let's talk quarterback battle to kick these competitions off.
Yeah.
Trubisky, Kenny Pickett, Mason Rudolph. We've gone on and on and on and on and on about these 3 names. I'm getting tired of it, but we're nowhere near the end. Nowhere.
No.
We're about a month and a half away. Heading into training camp, I think we both agree that we're not going to see much change immediately in how these 3 players, see the field and interact during practice. Let me ask, do you see it changing at all before the preseason? Who takes what snaps?
No, I don't. Not unless Kenny looks really, really good, which is obviously like a best case scenario for everybody involved. But like I still think at least heading into the first preseason games, Mitch will kind of walk in as a starter, and then Mason will still be kind of like that quarterback too. And then over the course of those 3 preseason games, I think we'll see kind of a more legitimate uptake for Kenny Pickett to climb himself from quarterback number 3 to quarterback number 2. But I mean, like we've talked about so many times before, this is Mitch's jobs to lose, right? Like there's like, and especially with Mason and what we've seen from him and a rookie Kenny Pickett, and just the Tomlin's past history of not wanting to play rookies right away and put a whole lot of burdens on a rookie's shoulders when they don't know what it's like to play in the NFL quite just yet. It's going to take a lot for Mitch not to be the starter, at least in my eyes.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's going to take a ton to beat out Mitchell Trubisky at this point. I will say everybody seems to be in the same consensus, except for me, that Mason's going to be the number 2. And maybe everybody's right, because you're not alone. Everybody seems to feel that exact same way. I think it's going to be pretty quick into training camp that we see Kenny start to take team 2 reps. Like 2 weeks. It's not going to be immediate. Mason's going to get his shot. But at some point, like we talk about it so often, at some point, we know what we're getting from Mason Rudolph. We've seen it for years now. It's not going to change. It's not going to get better. It's not going to get worse. You got to give Kenny some real reps. And I think that moving him to 2 and just like making it sporadic allows the coaching staff to curve questions of, is Kenny now the number 2? Because then it's just like, oh, everybody's getting a shot everywhere. We're all going to work everybody out. Mitch, I think, is going to stay the number 1. I agree with that one.
Yeah, the dilemma I've been facing, though, at least in terms of trying to figure out this puzzle when it comes to the quarterbacks, is I do think eventually we will see Kenny Pickett overtake Mason Rudolph as the second best quarterback on this roster. But like in the scenario where like Trubisky goes down in a game right now, and obviously this is way before training camp, we haven't even seen Kenny Pickett throw against live action, let alone against a whole different team.
Yeah,
full of dudes trying to make their own roster. So like they're going to be playing. I think if Mitch were to go down, I think right now Mason's probably the guy they rolled out onto the field. And so I guess kind of like by default, at least in my eyes, right now that makes him quarterback 2. But like it's a weird dilemma for me because I also think Pickett is going to be the superior guy at the end of the day. Like whenever week 1 rolls around, I think Pickett's the second best option on the team. Like almost instantly.
Yeah, so I agree with that. I think right now Mason is number 2, and he's got to be treated like number 2. Kenny's done nothing, and not in the NFL, to say, hey, I'm the number 2 guy. But you're right. Like at some point, you're going to look at these 2 guys and say, well, Kenny's a first-round pick, and Mason Rudolph's a fifth-round guy who's never proven to be a starter. You have to go with Kenny. I think by the time the season starts, Kenny will be number 2. But maybe heading into the first preseason game, maybe even the second preseason game, Mason will still be rocking that number 2 spot. But once you see the difference, I mean, like, we'll all see it. Unless we don't, Kenny's just like a total bust, at least in year 1. But I highly doubt that. Once we see it, the coaching staff's going to see it. And you can't hide that. You can't be like, oh, well, but we've put a lot of faith into Mason Rudolph. It's like, I don't care. Like, that's not an excuse to keep him as the number 2. So I think right now he is the number 2. Once week 1 rolls around, Kenny will be the number 2. And I think at some point he'll have an opportunity to start, but I don't know. We'll see. We both agree Mitch is going to walk into week 1 as the starter. When do you think Kenny does get an opportunity to start? Do you think it's at any point this year? Actually, a bigger question than that. Do you think that it's a lock that if Mitch is the starter this year, he's the starter next year? Or do you think that it's another quarterback competition next summer?
No, I think it's another quarterback competition next summer. Almost, I think, regardless of what plays out, there are a few scenarios to where, let's say, like Mitch goes down to week 2 and like Kenny pulls a Big Ben and just leads the Steelers to just a crazy regular season. Well, okay, I think we found our guy. I don't think we need to invite Mitch and Mason back to training camp to try to figure out who's going to be our quarterback in 2023. I don't think Kenny's playing time, at least whenever like compared to like Mitch Trubisky or like even like how well Mitch Trubisky does, barring like a crazy playoff run or like a Super Bowl, I think Kenny Pickett, with a year of NFL experience underneath his belt, whether that's on the playing field or on the sidelines, I think that'll really prime him to become the
Yeah.
starter in 2023. I think what the Steelers don't want to do is what you see a lot of other teams and organizations do, just throw their guys to the wolves, especially at the quarterback position, and them end up just having way too much on their plate instead of gradually kind of working themselves in. Now, obviously, you have guys like Big Ben came in right away and had success. We saw Dak Prescott come in right away after Tony Romo got hurt and have success. So, I mean, there are definitely players and cases where that is a thing and it's become very successful for both sides. But when you're evaluating Kenny Pickett and you're looking at his overall picture with the Steelers, I don't think the Steelers are really concerned about 2022 and if Kenny gets on the field. I think they're trying to look big picture. I think it's like a 10 years down the road thing. Like, will we still have Kenny Pickett as a franchise quarterback 7 to 8 to 10 years down the road? If we did, then we took the right steps in the beginning.
What does Mitch have to do to make this interesting enough to say, all right, well, maybe Mitch is the dude? Like, does he have to win a Super Bowl? Could he make him take him to the playoffs? What if he wins their first playoff game in 5 years?
I think a playoff berth would kind of raise some eyebrows for sure. But even then, like, you'd really have to look at the play of Trubisky. Yeah. Like, there is a reason the Bears let him go. There is a reason he had to go to Buffalo to sit behind Josh Allen for a year. Like, let's stop pretending that, granted, the Chicago Bears weren't a phenomenal football team, but like you pointed out time and time again, they still made the playoffs with Mitch Trubisky at the helm. Clearly, they weren't some dumpster fire like the current Chicago Bears or like the Jacksonville Jaguars are right now. Like, they had some pieces for sure. And a lot of it is going to boil down to whether or not Trubisky is actually capable of leading an offense out onto the field. They don't need him to be Patrick Mahomes. They don't need him to be Josh Allen. They need him to not turn the ball over and command an offense and lead it down the field. They don't need him throwing 400 yards, 3 touchdowns a game. That's just not something that the Pittsburgh Steelers will require out of Mitch Trubisky.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got to win at least a playoff game for that. And he's got to win it. It can't be like, oh, well, the Steelers won it, Mitch almost lost it. For him to have an opportunity to come back and compete for the starting job. But you're right. It's all about the play. Like, as we'll see throughout the year. I think by week 8, we could have an idea of how good Mitchell Trubisky actually is in this offense, which I'm not going to write him off. I think that he could be a good quarterback. I think he's got everything you need to be a good quarterback. But you're right. You got to see the play. You got to see how it pans out. Then we can make decisions about the future. But right now, I'd say that's Mitch's job to lose, and it's going to be very, very difficult for him to lose.
Here's my thing. Let's say, like, best case scenario, Mitch does play really well, and he goes and wins him a playoff game. If you're confident in Kenny Pickett, bro, you can offload Mitch for a draft pick. Like, that's exactly what the Chiefs did with Alex Smith. Like, Alex Smith never led them to a Super Bowl. And granted, like, Alex Smith right here, Mitch Trubisky below the desk right now. But like, if that were to happen, like, you already have your guy. You can probably get something in exchange for Mitch Trubisky. I'm not talking like a first or second round pick, but like something at least worth value you can add to your squad.
I agree. For everybody watching, just got a little bit of breaking news here on my phone. In celebration of the 50th anniversary of the Immaculate Reception, Steelers Hall of Fame running back Franco Harris will be the honorary captain of the 34th annual Steelers Run and Walk on September 3rd at Acrisure Stadium. That's a weird one. That's a weird one. Yeah, I agree. A draft pick would be nice. I think that's the future we're looking at, is a Mahomes, Alex Smith. I mean, you could go through literally all of them for the last 5 years of transition into rookie quarterback. You're not really ready to take that leap. So I like it. I agree with that. Let's move on to the offensive line. Kevin Dotson versus Kendrick Green's the big one, but Michael's got a question here in the chat about offensive tackle. Right now, the backups are Joe Haeg and literally nobody else. They're not going to add anything to that. They're definitely not. How bad is it going to come back to bite them in the butt that they're not going to do that?
I mean, you're just banking on one of those guys not getting hurt. Joe Haeg didn't play super awful last year like we had initially thought he was going to.
Yeah, much
But
better than
like
you
by
told me he
by
was going to.
by no means, like bro, if Joe Haig goes into the game, like I'm not like grabbing my foam finger, excuse me, and like trying to get his autograph. Like
Yeah, the
he wasn't
general.
super crazy. I know, right? Joe, sign this, please.
Yeah.
Dude, you're just banking on those guys being healthy. And
Yeah.
you look at Dan Moore, you look at Chooks, and obviously Moore played decent last year. I don't want to say he played great, but there were times where he did look like the team's best offensive lineman. But I don't know if that's like an indication of how good he was or how bad the other four guys playing next to him were. You always want to have like good tackle depth. Like it's not something you can never like really go without. But also at the same time, like those guys aren't really like being substituted every play. It's not like receivers to where like you're legit using like 4 or 5 guys per game. Like it's one left tackle, one right tackle, and that's it. If he gets hurt, he gets hurt, and after that, you kind of roll the dice from there.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, you got Chaz Green, who played a game last season. You don't feel good about him. Joe Haig played fine. I thought Joe Haig played way better than I expected him to play. On top of that, you'll have John LeGlue, who could play across the board. So I think he'll be on the roster somewhere just as like an emergency. So it's not great. I would love to see them add a tackle next year very early in the draft, if not a big name in free agency.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, I mean, it is what it is. It's their most ignored spot. It's very concerning. But it is what it is. That's at the end of the day, the Steelers put themselves in this position. They got to live with the consequences. When it comes to Kevin Dotson and Kendrick Green, do you think it's going to be a real competition where they split first team reps, or do you think this is just like the quarterback? Kevin Dotson's got the upper hand and Kendrick Green's got to really prove himself.
Yeah, you would think it's kind of the second option, and that's really it's like the Kendrick Green, because like, I do think he's probably a better guard than he is a better center in the NFL.
Oh gosh, yeah.
But
you could
like,
put him at running back and be a better running back than he is center. Easy.
From what we've seen from Kevin Dotson, I mean, we've seen the flashes. We've seen how solid of a guard he can be. He just hasn't really returned to that form that we saw a few years ago. You still want to give him the benefit of the doubt, especially if it's competition being at his position. So I 100% get and kind of agree with Dotson taking first team reps, and that, if Kendrick Green can do something crazy with the second team reps, and sure, then you elevate Green, you start to split the starting reps. But by no means do I want any of these guys to be comfortable. And I think that goes for the same for Mason Cole. I think that goes for James Daniels, although it does look like Cole and Daniels are going to have their spots already, not like cemented, but I mean, it's going to take a lot for those guys to basically not become starters for Pittsburgh next year.
Yeah.
So when it boils down to that, yeah, it's Dotson and Green at left guard, and I've seen Dotson play at left guard. I kind of already know what he can do. The jury's still out on Kendrick Green, so I think I would rather see Kendrick Green prove to me he can handle second team reps before he can prove first team reps and take those reps away from Kevin Dotson.
Yeah, I agree. I think Kevin Dotson's NFL capable. He's shown that he's NFL capable. It's just staying healthy. And this has to be the last opportunity. Like you can't look at Kevin Dotson and say, oh, he went down again this year with an ankle injury. We'll give him another shot next year. Like if you can't stay healthy this season, you got to move on from Kevin Dotson as your starting left guard. But that being said, we saw right from the jump in his rookie season that he's capable of being a starting left guard in the NFL. Like that could happen. Last year, I wish I saw more of him. The ankle injury left a big question mark, but when he's healthy, he's good. Like he's really good.
Mm-hmm.
And he told me that his ankles are stronger than ever, that he's worked all off season on them, that he's 100%. I know every player is going to say that stuff, but I think that's how you have to look at it is if Kevin Dotson is healthy, he is somebody that, James Daniels, your building block. That dude is 24 years old, and I think that he could be the future of the offensive line. Kevin Dotson's another dude that I think you could build off of. That if he's healthy, you could sign him to another contract and look at this guy and say, all right, well, we have our guards. Now we have to build the rest of the offensive line. And I think that's how good he could be. Derek said something to me on Friday. It was that you see what you put in. Like the Steelers have guys, TJ Watt, Najee Harris, Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, now Kenny Pickett, where you see the return on interest because that interest is very high. The Steelers have no first-round picks outside of James Daniels that sit on the offensive line. You have a bunch of third and fourth round dudes that you're trying to turn into superstars. Mm-hmm. It's either going to A, not work out, or B, it's going to take a while. And I think that's how you have to look at every single one of them. I think Kevin Dotson's here. He's the most mature on the field, ready to go. But anybody who's writing off Kendrick Green is jumping the gun way too early. Like, it's impossible to change positions and be super successful at it, especially center when you've never played center before. And he's a third-round pick. You know, he shouldn't have started at guard last year, let alone changing a new position when he's super small. So I think that, like you said, it's going to be Dotson, but I would love to see Kendrick Green like actually contribute this season in some which way or form, even if it's a swing guard.
I want the best 5 football players out there. I really don't care like what that lineup looks like. I just want the 5 best offensive linemen out there. And to yours and Derek's point, like when the Steelers were really successful on the offense side of the ball, not a coincidence you had high picks spent on Pouncey, high picks spent on the Castro. I mean, dude, it's just like whenever the Steelers were like considered a top 5, top 3 offensive line in the National Football League, they built that through the draft. And that's not the sexy way of going about it. Like, I get it. That's why I was very much in favor of getting an offensive lineman as opposed to Najee Harris a couple of years ago. I'm still in favor of drafting an offensive lineman over running back in the first round. I love Najee. Najee's a great dude. I'm so happy he's a Steeler. But, like, fixing the offensive line with high draft picks pays off over and over and over again. And I think that's something we're probably going to have to see the Steelers do in the next few years if they want to get back to that type of football.
Yeah, no doubt. I have no faith that Chooks is going to show to be – I think Chooks is going to be just fine this year, but I have no – but just fine is going to be not getting bullied. I have no faith he's going to be worth the second year of his contract. Dan Moore, I don't know what to expect. I'm going to leave those expectations totally blank. And I'm just going to say it's a second year. He's a 4th-round pick. He shouldn't have been there last year. Let's see what happens this year. But you need a center. You might need a guard. You got to start investing in this offensive line. You're dead on. Like, you can't. Like, the Steelers are never going to change. They're going to sit exactly where they are, maybe move up 4 or 5 spots in the next year or two when it comes to their offensive line value. But if you're not investing, you have to. And there's a lot of people out there. I mean, I get texts every single day from people that are like, oh, got to take a quarterback, got to take a running back, got to take a wide receiver, got to take this, got to take that. Like, you want to know what you need? You got to take a left tackle. You got to take a right tackle. Like, you gotta. You can't keep making excuses on why you're not, because that's, I mean, dude, Ben's best years were behind a really good offensive line. And it took a long time to get there. But you saw what Ben can do when he was back there. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a total game changer. It's a total game changer. All right, so we're both in agreement. Left guard goes to Kevin Dotson as of right now. Kendrick Green, way too early to be writing him off. Third running back. I think Benny Snell's probably locked in at the number 2, especially because of his special teams. Najee Harris, clearly the number 1. Number 3, I don't think Anthony McFarland is a lock for anything, although I really hope that his talent meets expectation. Then there's Jalen Warren and Mateo Durant, the undrafted guys out of Oklahoma State and Duke fighting behind him. I've made it clear a couple of times, like last year you saw that Kalen Ballage was better than Jalen Samuels instantly. I did not see that when it came to Anthony McFarland, Mateo Durant, and Jalen Warren. Nothing sparked me with those 2 guys. Do you think there's a real opportunity for one of them to actually make the team?
Brother, I haven't even seen them take the field. I have no clue what to expect whenever it comes to the third running back. All I can really speak on is Anthony McFarland, and like you've seen like maybe 1 or 2 plays from him where it's like, oh, okay, I get it. I get the Anthony McFarland hype train. But dude, if you're looking for a third running back behind Snell and like Najee, you're probably looking for like maybe like a really good pass blocker, maybe a really good like special teamer, maybe like a bona fide speed guy. Take your pick, man. It's basically what you want at the end of the day to kind of help round out your team. If it's a speed guy, McFarland, dude, like I said, I've yet to see like Mateo Durant materialize on the football field. Trey Edmonds is still like on the field, and then you have
Dude,
Jalen Warren too.
He's a practice squad. If they ever remove Trey Edmonds from the practice squad, I'm going to be verbally upset about that decision. That dude has zero NFL talent. Like, he can't play an NFL game. He just can't. He's not built for it. I'm like, he's a warrior. Like, if you put him at fullback, he would make plays. I personally think he'd be better than Derek Watt but he busts his butt, dude. Like, he is the hardest working dude on the field all the time. Always has a smile on his face, no matter what his role is. Like, you can't get rid of him. Can't get rid of him.
Let me ask you this. Are we overlooking ball carrying opportunities for Connor Hayward?
No, I don't think so. Not yet. Okay. He hasn't worked at running back or fullback at all.
Okay.
I think that could happen, but I think right now he's focused on being the third tight end. I would like to see something change, but
I just know for sure there's going to be some point this season where the Steelers are down like 17, and then they're going to try like a fake punt on their own 30-yard line. It's going to be like a fake sweep to Connor Hayward, and he's going to get tackled for like a 5-yard loss. Like, I can already see it happening.
Yeah. It's gonna get bad. But I do like Connor Hayward. I like what I've seen out of Connor Hayward. I will say this: I've been pushing the Anthony McFarland button for a long time, 3 years now. I think he's got everything it takes to be a quality NFL guy. I do. I think he's got good ability to catch the football. He's ridiculously fast. He's really quick. He just hasn't panned out, and I don't know why. I think some of that has to do with the fact that the Steelers don't put him in opportunities. I mean, you got to remember his rookie season. I don't know if anybody remembers this, but they threw a pass to this man who played 0 games throughout the year up until this point. They put him in on 4th and 10 to win a game against Washington, and they threw him the football. Terrible. It was a decent pass by Ben, but McFarland wasn't open at all. After that moment, it was like they totally gave up on him. He looked good last year during training camp. I hope he looks good this year. I haven't been paying as much attention, but we'll see. I think that right now is locked. There's a lot of people that hate on me about overlooking Jalen Warren and Mateo Durant. I have no hope that they'll make the team. None. Like, I just haven't seen anything, and I just don't think that they're splash players as of right now. Jalen Warren reminds me of Doug Martin. It's like a little hamster.
Respect.
Najee Harris getting 300-plus touches. Touch on this real quick. Did you see that he said that he'll touch the ball 500 times and then said he was like, oh, it's the media that has a problem with it. You want to know why we have a problem with it? Because for the last 6 years, we've sat around watching Steelers running backs touch the football 300 times and then be hurt in the playoffs. So at some point, you got to give it to somebody else.
Yeah.
300 should turn into 200 real quick. All right. Jump to wide receivers. But first, you know what it is. We got a word from our boys at Manscaped. It's officially summertime, and everybody talks about looking good for the warmer months, but few have the balls to do it. Well, it's time to nut up or shut up and take the easiest step to looking sexy this summer by using Manscaped. Manscaped's Ultra Smooth package makes sure that you have the proper care for down there, and their Boxers 2.0 gives you the perfect stage to show off your new look. These products may make you look hot, but your cleanly shaved nethers will keep you cool, and the Boxers 2.0 patented jewel pouch technology will keep your boys from turning any beach day into a swamp day. Dive headfirst into summer by joining the 5 million men worldwide who trust Manscaped and get 20% off plus free shipping by going to manscaped.com/Steelers20. The Ultra Smooth package is a specialized 3-step groin shaving kit to help you buff, protect, and smooth your most sensitive areas. I'm talking crop shaver razor, crop exfoliator, and crop gel. This kit is the perfect polish to make your family jewels shine. Step 1, the crop exfoliator. Infused with the ingredients that can soothe, clear, and keep the skin on and around your groin feeling refreshed, the Crop Exfoliator can help reduce the risk of ingrown hairs in your delicate places. Step 2, Crop Gel. See when you're shaving with our unique clear shaving gel just for the groin. It's called your delicate area for a reason. This is one place you do not want to go into blind. And step 3, it's time to shave. The Crop Shaver was designed for shaving the groin area with confidence. This razor has 3 precision blades, include extra wide lubricating strips, and a pivoting head for the ultimate groin grooming experience. All 3 of these vegan, cruelty-free, and sulfate-free products are included, so you know your manhood is in good hands and without compromise. Once you have your hog in prize worthy of condition, grab yourself a pair of Manscaped Boxers 2.0. They are ultra soft, moisture wicking, cooling, anti-chafing masterpieces, fit for a king and made for your royal scepter. Get 20% off plus free shipping with the code STEELERS20 at manscaped.com. That's 20% off plus free shipping with the code STEELERS20 at manscaped.com. There are so few perfect summer days. Don't let hot, sweaty balls ruin them. Stay fresh, stay clean, and stay smelling good with Manscaped. That was a good one. I'm liking these ultra smooth summer ones.
That's a mouthful, man. Like, dude, that's a marathon for you to read.
Yeah, but some of them are way worse than others. Some of them are like 4 minutes, and I'm in there like saying words I've never even heard of. These ones, the ultra smooth package is beautiful. Every time I say it, I'm just like, oh, this was smooth. This was ultra smooth. All right, let's answer a couple questions. We still want to talk about the wide receivers. We still want to talk about the secondary depth and obviously defensive end, who's going to replace Stephon Tuitt with the addition of Larry Ogunjobi and a USFL guy, Doug Costin. Ronald here. Will Mark Robinson do anything in a few years? We got the raw talent. So according to Madden, Mark Robinson is better than half of the Steelers' inside linebackers because they already rated him a 66, which is above like Robert Spillane, Marcus Allen, Ulysses Gilbert III. I'll say this. What I've seen from Mark Robinson is this dude is the fastest guy in the linebacker room by a mile, but he's built like a running back. I mean, he used to play running back. He got recruited to Ole Miss as a running back. Beefed up, played linebacker. He looks like a linebacker, runs like a running back. It is raw talent, but I think that they have the pieces in place to turn him into something. Do I think he's going to be a superstar? Nope. But I mean, I think he's going to be just fine in a couple of years. At least bare minimum, I expect this guy to be a special teams contributor in the next 2 years. I hope that the Steelers do not let him hit waivers before they put him on the practice squad, because it would really suck to see him leave like Quincy Roche did and then go make an impact somewhere else. I believe that's it. Let's head into the wide receivers. Obviously, you got Deontay Johnson, Chase Claypool, George Pickens, Calvin Austin. I think those are all a locks. Personally, I believe Gunnar Olszewski is also a lock, but that's open for interpretation. They're going to keep 6 guys. 4 of them are guarantees, I believe. Those final 2 spots will likely be Gunnar, Anthony Miller, Cody White, Miles Boykin, Steven Sims, maybe Tyler Vaughn, if you want to put him in there. And then who's Tyler Snead, little 5'4" Tyler Snead. This year is Matthew Sexton. Who's your guesses at locking in those final 2 spots for the Pittsburgh Steelers?
I think this needs to come with a grain of salt because I have not had the privilege of watching them at OTAs like you have. Because apparently Gunnar Olszewski is like the second coming of Ryan Switzer. And so, like, this dude's going to, like, take a roster spot, and he's going to...
Let me clear that up real quick. That is an insult upon insult to what Gunnar is capable of doing. Ryan Switzer was me trying to be a punt returner and a 5'8" wide receiver. he did what he could do. I think Ryan Switzer got a lot more hate than he deserved. Should he have been the third guy in the starting slot receiver for the Pittsburgh Steelers? No, I don't know how that happened, but it did. Dude, Gunner's good. Gunner's like actually good. He's a first team All Pro as a kick returner. So I think that
Ryan Switzer was a really good kick returner in college and with the Cowboys before the Steelers traded for him too.
Yeah, for like 8 games. I feel like it's different if you're a good special teamer in New England. Because like New England's got great special teams.
No, for sure, but like good special teams is good special teams no matter where you play. But
I agree. I don't know if I agree with that one because like the Steelers have awful special teams for a long time. They did not. And but Ryan Switzer was part of that awful special teams. Deontay Johnson looks like a good special teamer for a little while. Then he looks like a bad special teamer.
Well, that's because he can't hang on to the football.
Can't hang on to the football. Cam Sutton was the leading SEC punt returner his final year in college. I've never seen him return a punt one time for the Steelers. I think Gunner's proven himself at the NFL level. I think expectations should be higher. Plus, I've gone on and on and on about how this dude is never not open. That'll change with pads, obviously. I have to keep those expectations limited. But, dude, Gunner, he's fast, man. He's fast. I don't know what he was running from. He's a country boy from Texas. What were you running from? That you're that
have
elusive?
You seen the creatures and stuff in Texas?
No,
dude,
I'm still caught up on.
Man, dude, I would be running every day if I lived down there.
What happens outside of Pennsylvania? We were on a podcast a week ago. Shout out Pittsburgh Owen, and we're talking to Mark down in Australia, and he's telling us that everything down there eats, breathes, and sneezes human killing. Now Texas is crazy too.
He's like, do you guys have hunting spiders? And we're like, what? And he's like, spiders as big as your hand. Walk around. They caught on one at the gym and I fell over. And we're like, no, we don't have that. He's like, bro, do you have birds that swoop you? And dude, what are you talking about?
Nah, never, dude. Never. I've never looked at a bird the same since that day. Never.
Back on target though.
Yeah, Gunner. You don't have to.
I have not seen Gunner. If I am taking your word for Gunner, it sounds like he's a lock. Okay, so that would essentially give us one more spot in the receiver room. Do you use that for the better receiver? Do you use that for the better special teamer? Do you try to find a guy who's probably better at both? You can make cases for. I think this boils down to me for Cody White and Miles Boykin.
Oh, okay. I like the Cody White take. Why do you feel Cody White's in there?
The Steelers really like Cody White, bro.
They do. I used to get phone calls at 1, 2 in the morning. Yo, Cody White's getting on the roster. I'm telling you, he's getting on the roster. I was like, all right, sounds good. Talked about it all last year. Dude got hurt. They didn't cut him. I was like, well, that's a weird coincidence. And then boom, he actually ends up on the actual roster at one point in the season. Cody White, maybe. I think Cody White's got a better shot than people realize. I think because he could be a good special teamer, I think that's what gives him I think that he's above Anthony Miller right now because I don't know what Anthony Miller could bring to special teams. And that sixth guy doesn't have to be able to catch the football. All he's got to be able to do is play special teams and play.
See, if we're basing it off that, dude, Miles Boykin was a good special teamer for Baltimore.
Yeah, I agree. I think he's got a good upper hand too. I think that's why I agree with you that it could come down to those two because I think those guys could both play special team. The question is, are they going to keep, they wouldn't keep them both. They wouldn't keep 7. So one of them would have to replace Gunner. And I think that's a whole other bag of worms because you replace Gunner, who you going to make your return man? Because it's not going to be either one of those guys. It'd have to be Anthony McFarland, which I think is a risk. You're not going to put Deontay back there. That, you know what I mean?
No,
that opens
I think you keep Gunner on the roster. If he can kind of develop and fine tune his receiving skills, to match his return skills. I mean, you already got your special teams, problem situated right there. And then having another Gunner on the roster, you already said. I mean, Boykin has more than proven he's capable of doing that at an NFL level. I think, bro, I honestly really think that's why the Steelers brought him in. I don't think they can give a rat's what about his abilities to catch a football because they're not going to be targeting him 3-5 times a game. They don't need him catching football. They need really good special teams play, and I think that's what he brings to the table.
Yep, me too. Me too. And I think maybe he could play like that fourth. I don't think Calvin Austin's a lock to be the fourth guy on the depth chart. I think Gunnar and him could compete if they both made the roster. I think Boykin could compete if he made the roster to be that fourth guy, depending on how they want to utilize that stuff. But I agree. He's got to be a special teamer, and he's got to be a good one. And I think the fact that he is an all-pro gives him an upper hand. And I also think that that's why people got to stop talking about Anthony Miller, because I really, really do not believe Anthony Miller is going to make this team. It's the same thing about Justin Lane and James Pierre. The reason that Justin Lane has such a big upper hand to make the Steelers roster over James Pierre is because Justin Lane is an excellent gunner. He is not good at anything else, but he's an excellent gunner. And Mike Tomlin acknowledges that year after year, and that's what they want him to do, is be a gunner. James Pierre was here to be an outside cornerback and turned into what it was, but I think that's the same thing with wide receiver, 100%. There is a question in here from Michael. Haven't seen a lot of people talk about the competition at inside linebacker outside of the obvious starters. That's a good question. Do you think Buddy Johnson, I think it's going to be Buddy Johnson, Robert Spillane, and then a third guy. How do you see that panning out? Do you think this is the year Buddy Johnson takes a leap and becomes that primary backup?
I think so, yeah. Buddy's shown some really good things, at least in his short time with the Steelers. And we've seen Robert Spillane's career kind of slowly drop down from the moment he stopped Derrick Henry dead in his tracks. Which I still think they need to give him a key to the city for that. Facts. I think he should have a pass to whatever he wants to do in that city, because he's like the only human being I have ever seen do that to Derrick Henry.
Yeah.
So I think you look at Spillane's like trajectory, you look at the potential Buddy Johnson like can do, or like what he can be, at least whenever you compare him to like Ulysses Gilbert. I feel like I'm a little bit higher on Marcus Allen than a lot of people are.
Love Marcus
just because
Allen.
Not for sure, especially in like nickel scenarios where like you're gonna need like a coverage linebacker. I probably favor him a little bit more than a guy like UG3 or like Spillane. Obviously, like he's not really known to being a cover guy, or even like Buddy Johnson too. But like the hype train around Buddy's real. Like it's really real.
Yeah, I agree. I think Buddy looked good at minicamp. I would have liked to see him play a little bit more last season. I think that is what it is. You know what I mean? He's a fourth round rookie. You can't be like, oh man, he didn't get on the field. Like, okay. But I do think he's got all the athleticism. I think this is the year that he could take that leap, and I expect him to take that leap. Robert Spillane, just like you said, like, dude, at some point, like, come on, man. If you ran into Derrick Henry full force on the goal line and stopped him, 5 things just happened to you. 1, your life expectancy just dropped by 35 years, bare minimum. 2, you became a legend, because in 40 years, we're going to be telling our kids about Robert Spillane stuffing Derrick Henry at the goal line. And that's, you know, people are going to be like, who's Robert Spillane? Oh, dude, he just stuffed Derrick Henry at the goal line. You got to look at this play. 3, your career is instantly going downwards because, you know, your body's just, like I said, took at least a dozen years off your life. That's insane. And I think that's the big 3, but that's all I got right now. I still think he's got an opportunity to play this season. I definitely expect him to be on the roster and at bare minimum be, you know, a contributor and definitely a special teamer.
No, Sorry to interrupt you.
No.
The Steelers need to do a good job of putting these guys in positions to where they can succeed. Robert Spillane is not a coverage linebacker. Like, he should not be out on the field and like obvious passing downs. Like him on any tight end or him on any running back is just like a nightmare. Okay.
Yep.
What he is really good at is he is really good at stopping the run. He's very, very good at clogging running lanes and just making sure running backs don't get any extra yardage than they need to be. Almost the same as like a couple of years ago whenever the Steelers had John Bostic. Like, everybody clowned on John Bostic for being this like terrible middle linebacker. He was Pro Football Focus's #1 run stopping inside linebacker.
Yep.
Like just make sure you don't put. And I'm looking at Keith Butler whenever I say this. Just make sure you don't put guys like, I don't know, Vince Williams on Keenan Allen in a freaking Sunday night football game. Dude, do you remember the time Bud Dupree was on Julio Jones? Like out by the sideline. Like,
Yep.
No man's land, bro.
Yep. I mean,
they cannot continue to do that.
They can't continue to do that. I hope that changes. I mean, Brian Flores sees that. He's got to at least bare minimum slap Mike Tomlin in the face. Yep. I know. That happens one time, dude. You have to just look, Mike. Yeah, all the blame has to go on Mike Tomlin. All of it. You can't. If that happens this season, at this point, we've given up on, it's the defensive coordinator. It's Mike Tomlin. I agree with that. I think that everybody's got different, like everybody in this linebacker room is specialized in different things. I think Buddy Johnson has the athleticism to be that guy that could be a lot more than the rest of them. I don't know, though. I think it's still going to be a giant question mark. Training camp's going to show us how developed Buddy Johnson actually is. But I would say expect bigger things from him this year. I expect Marcus Allen to be that third guy just because he's a good special teamer.
Yep.
The issue with me there is that I'm nervous about putting Mark Robinson on waivers. That makes me very, very nervous. All right, before we get into defensive end, outside linebacker behind TJ Watt and Alex Highsmith, I think right now, obviously, Jannard Avery is expected to be that guy, but he didn't take any snaps during minicamp. Derek Tushka and Tuzar Skipper are going to be the guys who they call upon to try and fill that role. I feel awful about both of those, And I hope that they add somebody at some point. I would say that Tuzar Skipper looked way better than Derek Tushka at minicamp. It's easy to look good in shorts and helmets at outside linebacker, but Skipper looks bigger, quicker, and just, he looks like the preseason hero that he was 3 years ago. To Derek Tushka.
Oh, dude,
Derek Tushka is just a guy. Drives a blue truck with a fire extinguisher, like a blue little tiny Jeep. It looks like a golf cart with a fire extinguisher right next to the thing. I'm pretty sure it's one seater, just as North Dakota as it gets. But I don't know. There's no hope there.
No,
Jannard Avery's either got to be something really
we were
good.
talking about the tackle depth.
Yeah,
it kind of mirrors itself on the outside. And if we look at the defense, I mean, if Watt or Highsmith go down, just fully expect the production to drop. I am so tired of Steeler fans talking about Tuzar Skipper like he's Lawrence Taylor. That dude has been nothing but potential the last couple years.
Yeah.
He has never materialized into anything. Can we stop treating him like he's this phenomenal football player? Because he's not.
Hey, dude, he broke the preseason sack record for the Pittsburgh Steelers, okay?
I am so happy for him.
Tuzar Skipper's a guy that should be good, he should be a dude who makes plays, but he's just not. That's just who he is. He's a big boy. He's a dude who's got all the physical stuff going on. It just doesn't materialize, which you can't expect anything crazy. I mean, I'm pretty sure he's an undrafted guy. He had his opportunity, played a couple of games in Tennessee. We'll see. I talked to him, and what stood out to me is that he's like, dude, I got to stop bouncing around the NFL. He's like, it's annoying to move all the time. He's like, I just want to find a home. I hope that's Pittsburgh. I have no idea. I think that's the most concerning area for me when it comes to the defense. Let's talk about defensive end to close this out here. Signed Larry Ogunjobi. They just signed Doug Costin out of the USFL. Chris Wormley's obviously there, and then they drafted DeMarvin Leal in the third round. How do you see that competition playing out? Who do you think walks off as the winner?
Yeah, I think Leal's kind of more that Cam Hayward Jr. role right now. I'm really hoping Leal kind of sticks to Cam Hayward's every move, follows him around like a puppy pretty much, because I think he's probably the potential successor to him if Leal can fulfill his potential. When you're looking at trying to replace Stephon Tuitt.
Did you just say DeMarvin Leal's going to play defensive tackle?
I mean, dude, he can be Cam Hayward's replacement.
He's 275 pounds.
Bro, that's not little.
He's little. Compared to Cam Hayward, he's very little.
Well, yeah, Cam Hayward compared to anybody is a giant.
Yeah.
Even NFL
DeMarvin Leal's a pass rusher. I think he'd play defensive end, but I see where you're going with. All right, go ahead.
Stephon Tuitt was a pass rusher, but Stephon Tuitt was 6'10".
Dude, Stephon Tuitt made Cam Hayward look small at times. It's actually nuts how big Stephon Tuitt was. All right, but I see where you're going. Go ahead.
I think if we're trying to narrow it down, like who's going to replace Tuitt's production this year, like for me, it's basically down to Ogunjobi and Wormley. Dude, we've talked so many times about how like the Steelers really prefer they're like veteran guys who like have been in the building. They know what they're supposed to do. Not that Ogunjobi isn't a veteran or he doesn't know what he's supposed to do, but like Wormley at least like has that kind of like click and like connection to him. I don't think Ogunjobi came here to be a backup. Like I understand like the contract he signed was a lot less than the one he should have signed with the Chicago Bears, but we are talking about a legitimate starting caliber defensive lineman in the NFL. I don't think he came here to play second fiddle to Chris Wormley. And that is no dig at Chris Wormley. Chris Wormley, whenever he does play at defensive end, has done fairly well rushing the ball, but I think you said it best episodes ago. Chris Wormley just comes and splashes. Like you never see Chris Wormley start to finish do what he does. Larry Ogunjobi, while he's not Jadeveon Clowney, he's not like any like super top tier defensive end in the National Football League. Ogunjobi has proven time and time again that he has a potential to be something really solid along a defensive line that'll feature a guy like Cam Hayward. That'll free up guys like TJ Watt, Alex Highsmith. I think this is Ogunjobi's job to lose. I really, really do. I'm not saying he's going to get first team reps and then Chris Wormley is going to drop down to the second team. I actually think more than anything, probably be vice versa, or they're going to split first team reps heading to training camp. But like Larry Ogunjobi is a better football player than Chris Wormley, and I fully expect that to materialize whenever training camp rolls around.
Yeah, I agree. I think I was, and I still stand with the opinion that Chris Wormley will have to lose the job, but I think he will lose the job. And that's no dig at Wormley. I think Wormley's a phenomenal role piece, and I would love to see him because I don't think DeMarvin Leal is ready to play significant snaps yet. I like Chris Wormley as the role player at defensive end, Isaiah Loudermilk as the role player at defensive tackle, and then Monty Adams as the role player in the nose tackle. I think that finally gives the Steelers the depth that they've needed for years. And then you have DeMarvin Leal, maybe Doug Costin, if that's a guy that they want to roll into the active roster, maybe Henry Mondu. Larry's obviously better. And if they started Chris Wormley, it'd be a pride thing. Like, oh, you know, this is a guy who's been here, loyalty. It's all about loyalty. This is the NFL, okay? There's no loyalty. Play the best players. Larry Ogunjobi's by far the best player.
For sure. I think too, this doesn't need to be like a clear cut like 1A, 1B kind of thing. They should be able to like rotate like as often as they need to. Like I feel more confident with Ogunjobi on the field, but at the same time, like if Chris Wormley is like on the field and it's like a passing situation, for example, like we know he can get to the quarterback. I am not upset if Chris Wormley takes over this like third down like pass rusher specialist role. You know?
No, me neither. And my only worry for Wormley is that Ogunjobi's also a good pass rusher. And, you know, if Ogunjobi's having an 8-sack season, I'm not taking him off the field, you know? Like,
no, I agree.
Wormley could go in when he's tired. And like, that's that's just more of like, I like Chris Wormley. I hope he gets opportunities, but we know what Chris Wormley is. Ogunjobi was set to be the answer for the Chicago Bears to replace Eddie Goldman. That was their dude. And he failed a physical, and now he's in Pittsburgh. And I think that if Ogunjobi signed in March, it would have eliminated all of this. We wouldn't even be having this conversation. It'd be like, oh yeah, Larry Ogunjobi's the starting defensive end. Like easy. You know, it's just the fact that it happened after minicamp. I think what helps him in getting earlier snaps with the first team is the fact that Chris Wormley didn't practice during minicamp for some reason. Yeah, so that it's not like they're, you know, already working that system, working him there. I get he started last year, but I don't know. Ogunjobi's the dude that I look at and say, I think we both say, you know, you could literally fix this defensive line. Ogunjobi could be the answer that puts this all back together, because I thought Stephon Tuitt could have been that guy too if he played well. It's a big if, but I mean, like anybody who's like, oh, Ogunjobi's not going to be good. What have you been watching? Like, where you been at? Because Ogunjobi's good. Oh,
he should.
Did you see that? See me just fall there? No, I hit the button on the side of my chair. Right down. Right down. He should be good. I think he is good. It's all going to depend on the health of his foot, which, Dr. Bradley literally just won an award the other day or got into the Hall of Fame or something. So I hope he knows what he's talking about. If you're a Hall of Fame doctor in the NFL, I would trust your physical on a guy who just had foot surgery.
For sure.
Yeah. So I think Ogunjobi's the move. Outside of that, before we head out here, the starting wide receivers, it's going to be Deontay 1, Chase Claypool 2, George Pickens 3. I expect Chase to play a lot of slot this year, But I also expect George Pickens to play a lot of slot as well, because I think they're both really good with the football in their hands. I think they'll just utilize them. Deontay is not a slot guy. He doesn't work well in the middle of the field, but the rest of them do. Like George Pickens, like I said, I realized George Pickens was nuts when he caught a football in the middle of the field and outran seven dudes down the sideline. So I think that they'll all be utilized there. I'm more interested to see where Calvin Austin is utilized, how much they put him on the outside compared to the inside, because I think he's good on the outside. He's just 5'8", which is
doesn't help when you're trying to play on the boundary. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're 5'8", chances are in the NFL you're never going to touch the outside, but I mean, he makes big boy plays, so maybe.
I was gonna say, man, you get him on the outside and like there's no safety lurking. I mean, just pop it over.
That's right out. Yeah, he'll outrun everybody. That's the thing. And I expect all of them except for Deontay to move around. I expect the Steelers offense to look very different multiple times throughout the game. I also expect a lot of 13 personnel. Connor Hayward to line up in weird positions. And I could even see like Najee lining up at slot and trying to utilize him that way. I think Matt Canada is going to throw everything he's got out there.
He needs to.
Yeah, he needs to. So I think that's the way we're looking at it. All right, I got to go get a tattoo. So we appreciate everybody. Thank you so much for jumping on to another episode of All Steelers Talk. Make sure to subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/All Steelers Talk, and find us anywhere you get your podcast. Like this video, go use our promo code Steelers20 for 20% off and free shipping at manscaped.com. I'll be back tomorrow with Derek. Enjoy your night. Peace.